Come on, I feel like Alex Jones. It's the New World Order. The New World Order. We're going to talk about it, break it all down for you. Come on, you're going to love this show. About George with Gene Ho, coming up. Welcome, everyone, to About George with Gene Ho, and happy Friday for you. Come on, what an interesting week, and I hope you're going to have a great weekend coming up. Hope you got a lot of stuff planned and a little relaxing, but we're going to finish up the week strong. It's going to be good. By the way, I do hope that you had a good week. We had an interesting week here with all this stuff with the speakers, race, and all this. We got the new issue of George out, so a lot of good things going on here for us here at George. But today I want to talk a little bit about the New World Order. Come on, how much more spookier can you get than that? Haven't used the word spooky dookie in a long time. But it is very interesting, more so interesting, that we almost hear nothing about this in the mainstream media. So here's what's going on while we're concentrating on this and that shiny object, this in the news, speaker race and all this stuff. Do you realize that around the world, there are many things going on right at this moment? It is very interesting. Anyway, there's no real sound in this video here. Gets it kind of spooky, but we're going to talk all about this one. Greg, roll it! All right, let's talk about it. First of all, when you see that video, do you know what's going on there? Come on. Not a wedding you weren't invited to. We're not invited to it anyway. Anyway, think about that. Isn't it amazing that you can see certain things on the television in the mainstream media? For example, if you have a bunch of people in the Capitol, you look at that, even with the sound off, you'll look at that and you say, I know what that is in the news. It's been on the cycle. That's the Speaker of the House. Or, quite frankly, if you see pictures in Israel and the bombs and everything, you know. You don't even need the sound on. You know exactly what's going on. But the question for you here, what in the world's going on here? This is recent, like this week, like everything going on in real time. But my question to you is, how come we don't know anything about it? And how come you gotta wait till you hear from me to know what's going on? Think about that for a second. Kind of good, right? Then you can trust our sources of the media, just telling you like it is. But what's going on there? All right, let me explain it all for you here. This is the new China Belt and Road Initiative. What in the world's that? Come on, think. In your history, think back in school. Think the Silk Road. And by the way, we're not part of this club. The United States is not part of it. But know in your history that for many years in the past, China entered into basically international dominance with something called the Silk Road. Basically by making trade routes going along to different parts of the world. All right. Now, what was interesting before this, it was very dangerous to travel in and among certain roads because of bandits and all this stuff. So China says, hey, come trade with us, come work with us, and we will help you build these roads, go all over it. Back then they call it the Silk Road, but today is the Belt and Road Initiative. And what's going on is roads are going into different parts of the world. Now, by the way, Probably not a good thing for us, but here's another explanation of it in the news. Greg, roll it!
The BRI is a gigantic plan for a global network of ports, roads, railways, and other infrastructure to connect China to the world.
我们的共同目标是携手努力让各国互联互通更加有效。
The most expensive infrastructure project in history.
The Belt and Road Initiative, a boom, a bust, or just a buzzword?
It is also a way through which China confirms its role as a global power.
The U.S. and other Western countries are worried and recently announced their own plan.
We think that there's a much more equitable way to provide for the needs of countries around the world.
Okay, that is a pretty neat explanation of what's going on. But my question again to you is this the first time you're hearing about this? Because I haven't. It's not been in the news. Been doing this for a long time. It's been out building roads already. And now they're also meeting with different world leaders in that area. Now, this is a big deal. Think about where you live, depending on what it is in your city. Wow, great city, but what if there were only dirt roads, muddied, all this stuff going around? There was no entrance way into your city. Think about how difficult it would be to do business. By the way, interesting. Sounds like a smart city. Sounds like a 15-minute smart city. They're keeping everyone in one area. You don't have to leave. Interesting. China seems to be doing the opposite. Have your country, your cities, and build roads to other cities to become an economic powerhouse because you're doing trades. Think about this. All right? Where I live, there's only one choice. Lowe's. Other places have other choices. Home Depot and all this stuff. When you have other places where you could go, it helps the economy. Otherwise, there's only one place you could go. So China, smart enough to realize this, says, hey, we are going to build roads to other nations to do trade with them and, quite frankly, have an exchange of ideas, all this stuff. Now, this is a great idea. The thing is, chances are, and we saw that in the video there, is probably not very good for the United States of America. Think about it. We are being isolated. And I get it, because we, as Americans, have this whole thing, at least on the MAGA side, about America first, America first. Yes, America first, but that does not mean splendid isolation. Come on, how's that for a talking point from back in the days of history class? Trump is not talking about splendid isolation. In fact, Trump, when he was president of the United States, made it a point to talk to other countries, to have a negotiation with them so that there would not be wars. And if, I don't know, because we're not there, but if they were doing certain things, Trump might weigh in one way or the other. But what it seems like is going on right now is there's a big party going on and we ain't invited. So what you saw there is a meeting of the Belt and Road Initiative. What's going on is China is meeting with a lot of people from different countries, world leaders, I believe, going into different places in Africa, different places in Europe. But he is building, or they, China, are building roads going into there so that they could have better trade, make it easier to travel in and out, work on an economy. All right, so that is what is going on right now. Very interesting. We here have been very much distracted. And as you've seen this, Biden was out there doing some talk saying, hey, we got better ideas and all this stuff. But right now, it looks like America is very distracted, not only with our government, because you have all this stuff with the speaker and all this. I know you know about this. We're fighting, quite frankly, two proxy wars. You have the war with Russia and Ukraine, and then Hamas in Israel. All right? And I get it. We have to defend people that are allies like Israel. Not even saying anything about that, but I'm just saying we here in America are very, very distracted. And the news cycle is very interesting, doesn't even talk about this. Now, what do you think would be the process of doing this? What do you think is going on here? Well, evidently, the United States, even Biden, doesn't like this, because what happens is you have trading partners. What happens when we have problems in other countries that we work very well with? What is our first option? Think about that. A country gets out of line. We're the United States of America. What do? Bomb the hell out of them? No. When you are working with different countries and you have a problem with them, one of the things that works very well with different countries is economic sanctions. You can control different things or even prevent wars in the world with something called economic sanctions. Boycotts, tariffs, all this stuff. Isn't it interesting that Trump knew how to play this game very well? Putting tariffs on this person, that person, whatever. That is a way to gain power because, quite frankly, every time someone gets out of line, it's not the first choice to bomb the hell out of them. So instead, these relationships, economically speaking, makes a country very powerful. Just ask us. Just ask the United States of America. That's why a lot of times you'll hear things like, hey, they are not in most favored status with the United States, meaning you can't trade with them and all this stuff. Makes a difference. But it's very interesting that China is building their own powerful network into, quite frankly, areas of Africa and countries there that have very large resources. Just saying, that's what they're doing. All right, now that we got that out of the way, there's more to talk about. So stick around. About George with Gene Ho, coming back.
Banks are supposed to be the safest placeholders for cash in the world, but in 2022 that changed. The Federal Reserve pulled out $2.5 trillion of liquidity out of the banks, and the Fed also changed the requirements so banks don't need to keep any funds on hand. This means banks are starved for liquidity and have now become very dangerous places to hold your assets. Get out of the system with the world's safest and most private assets, silver and gold. Call Kirk Elliott, PhD at 720-605-3900.
I don't know if this country can be saved. The information war on any battlefield, on any physical battlefield that I have been on, has always been the most important component of war itself. So they were actually people in our government that were in the executive branch undermining the President of the United States without his knowledge. So that's basically an act of treason.
Welcome back, everyone, to About George with Gene Ho. And once again, happy Friday to you. And I hope that you'll have a great week this weekend. Get the chance to do some stuff before it gets too cold outside to do anything too strenuous outside. But thank you very much for joining me once again. And just a reminder, guys, you got to go to georgemagazine.com. Very interesting. And don't forget, we have georgevideo.com as well. If you go to the watch section, you'll see the George Video, and you'll see a couple of new programs that we have, including one for Rachel Rightside Blonde, who I know all of you love. You have also The George Podcast with me, Rachel, and Dave Blaze, and my new show that's kind of like a fun thing that I do. It's called At Home with Gene Ho. Check it out there at George Video. All right, a lot of stuff going on in the news. It's interesting because we have spent the last month, really, an interesting October, to say the least. But I feel better times are ahead. I know that there are still rough patches. We have no insider information, just telling you what I think. Got to always say that. Throw that in there. But I think that there's going to be better times ahead, and going into the election, I think, quite frankly, a lot of things will be cleared up. That's my hope. All right. So we're talking today about China and the Belt and Road Initiative. Once again, what is going on here is something very similar to what China did way back when, called the Silk Road. At the time, the roads were not very good for traveling, and there were also people in there, bandits along the way. So how are you going to trade your going down the road and then someone might hijack all your stuff. So China does the Silk Road, and not only that, they offer the protection so that there's good trade routes there. Now, with something like this going on, China is doing the same thing today. They're making inroads with different countries. So you have China, and it's going to make it easier for people to trade with them. And why not? Why not? Why trade with the United States, quite frankly, when you have a road going straight to another type of economy? And so what you have here is you have China becoming a powerhouse with this. Now, great, wonderful, and I understand it because people say, well, the United States is all great and wonderful too. However, they also have one of their friends, Greg Rowlett. Okay, that is also the Belt and Road Initiative. So, guess what? We're not invited to the party. Understood. We're not connected to them. You got oceans and stuff like that. But guess who is invited to the party? You have Vladimir. All right. The problem with this right now, and I'm not getting into it with all this stuff, but when the United States is giving a lot of money to Ukraine, guess who they are bombing? Vladimir Putin and Russia. And I get it, because there are a lot of people on one side saying, hey, Russia is really the good people, and other people saying, whoa, we got a Ukrainian flag, put it on your Facebook page. Hey, I love the Ukrainians. And I get it. That is a show for a whole other day, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, because there are certain people saying, hey, with Ukraine, why are we supporting them? Maybe they're washing money, I don't know. But why are we supporting them? And why does every liberal have the Ukrainian flag on their Facebook or whatever? So I understand that, and there are other people that are politicians and that are running for president that will say, Gene Ho, you're so foolish. We need to support our allies in Ukraine against this, well, all this stuff. All right, I get it. All right. I, by the way, am not a foreign policy expert, nor do I have an opinion on a lot of these. I do have a little bit of opinion. But my point is, when the United States is actively supporting Ukraine in a war against Russia, and then suddenly you see the main guy in Russia hanging out at a party that we're not invited to with China, they're going out with the quarterback, but it's not our quarterback. It's the other quarterback. So just makes you wonder what's going on here. And when you look at this, you think, did someone fall asleep at the wheel here? What's going on? It's basically like, if, I'll say it this way, okay? Let's do it this way. If, that is a big if, this is the first that you, the listening audience, are first figuring out about this. Like if you are just finding out, wow, Hillary, God, check this out. Oh, this Gene Ho, did you know about this, Hillary? If you are the first time listening into this, makes you wonder. All this has been going on, been building up for, I would say, at least a couple of years. But China is making major inroads to other countries. Quite frankly, good for them. But makes you wonder just a little bit. But for me, it makes me wonder about what the hell Biden's doing. Because what was going on when Trump was president? Greg Rowlett!
of Mr. Trump's victory, right, in the election. So this is a very critical moment. So it have a very strong symbolic role, in this visit, I think. So the visit, I hope that this visit can lay like a keynote visit, to lay the foundation for the future. I don't know how many years Trump will in the White House. At least 3 years, right? For the development.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt now, but you're now watching the live picture of the motorcades of the presidents driving down the Chang'an Avenue. That's the biggest thoroughfare in Beijing, in front of the Tiananmen Square. That's the Forbidden City you are watching right there.
Okay, that was when Donald Trump was president, and that was the president of the United States going to China. What did they talk about? No clue, all right? No clue. But as the president of the United States and as a president of the United States, that is America first. It's interesting because some may paint Donald Trump as a splendid isolationist. That sounded very Donald Trump. Splendid isolation. No, Donald Trump went out there, talked to world leaders, and while he talked to world leaders, he kept things in check as far as wars. Now, today, I'll be honest, I feel less safer than I was when Trump was a president. And when I see Xi and Putin hanging out at the party and we ain't invited. Just makes you wonder. But remember, what was the main thing that the left talked about Donald Trump when he was president? All right? First thing, because I remember it, people were saying, that guy Trump, he's going to get us into World War III. Oh, that guy's crazy, whatever. That's what they were saying. Then the first thing, even before he was president, they were like, oh, what is he doing on 60 Minutes or whatever it was on the same day that Putin was on there? Remember, Putin was basically being interviewed, and then Donald Trump was there on the same day, on the same episode. By the way, I think it was 60 Minutes. Don't quote me. But the point is, it's interesting. That's what everyone said. Then he goes to China, goes there. By the way, did you check out that motorcade? Pretty neat motorcade. That's what they gave to the presidents there. So they could go there, talk, have conversations. Who knows what they're talking about? But I know that we were a lot less closer to any kind of war when that happened. Finally, going to add one more thing to this because it's pretty interesting. Remember when Trump was president, what did they say? Okay, oh, this guy loves all the dictators. Yeah, whatever. But he kept America safe because, remember, he also met and went to North Korea. And people are like, what in the world are you going to North Korea for? Those are the bad guys. I don't know. Don't know them. But Trump goes there to their country, meets with them, and suddenly they ain't no more testing of nuclear missiles off the coast of North Korea. My point being, when you have all of this, you look at all the things and you look at this from afar and you just think to yourself, what in the world is going on today? First of all, how in the world does all this stuff, and then people are meeting in China, all these different countries, including Xi, and you hear very, very tiny bit about it. But the loop and everything is all these things that we hear constantly in the United States of America and the mainstream media. By the way, it's very interesting because, of course, George goes out there and writes articles, but I do my best to scour all of it. Quite frankly, my job is to read mainstream media too. And this Belt and Road Initiative, haven't heard much about it at all. And if it is the first time that you personally heard about this, it makes you wonder what's going on in the world. And when you think about Biden here, again, the crazy man, Donald Trump, oh, you can't give him the nuclear codes or whatever. That guy kept us pretty safe. I don't know how he did it, what he said, how it was done. People thought he was crazy because he went to North Korea. But the guy had it going on, and we're talking about Donald Trump. Right now, I don't know what's going on, except for it seems like other people are saying, we don't want to be part of this party. We're going this way. There's other people there. they're running all these things, and a great continent with a lot of natural resources is going to be poured into China because of this Belt and Road Initiative. All right, said a mouthful today, but I got a little bit more to go. So stick around. About George with Gene Ho, coming back.
Over the last 20 years, with all your support, we've been able to not only launch the original MyPillow, but also the MyPillow mattress topper, Giza Dream bed sheets, My Slippers, and the MyPillow bath towels. But there's so much more. In fact, we have over 200 products, and I'm so confident that you'll love each and every one of them that when you go to MyPillow.com now, you'll immediately receive a free gift valued at $20 just for checking out the website. No purchase necessary. Get everything from MyPillow blankets, sleepwear, kitchen towels, mattresses, duvets, pet beds, body pillows, comforters, couch pillows, bathrobes, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And remember, just for checking out MyPillow.com, you'll immediately receive a free gift valued at $20. No purchase necessary. This is a limited time promotion, so go to MyPillow.com now.
Welcome back, everyone, to About George with Gene Ho. And I'm going to wrap it up for you in a nice big bow in a second, but just wanted to talk a little bit about GeorgeMagazine.com. Don't forget, the newest issue of George, the anniversary issue, can be bought right now. You could get a subscription. You could get a copy going straight to your home. And, of course, we had the exclusive interview with RFK Jr. He canceled all of his appointments to make sure that he can get an interview with us at George. So you got to check it out. Go there and subscribe. You're going to love it. And it'll come to your house. It's an actual magazine. All right, let's wrap it all up in a nice, pretty bow for you and all this stuff. By the way, just full disclosure, I am Chinese. In fact, my first language spoken was Cantonese. I am a United States citizen and I was born in the United States. I say this because way back when, there was a lot of things going on with Hong Kong and China and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe I should get involved in all this stuff. When in fact, I came to my conclusion that America has its own set of problems, own set of stuff to deal with that I got to deal with, helping people understand about our government and all this stuff. Quite frankly, I'm not worried about what's happening overseas. But my point of this show here, which is very interesting, is that mainstream media has not been reporting on all this stuff with the Belt and Road Initiative. Very interesting. In fact, to prove it, many of you might have just found out about it on this show. My point is, why is that the case? Possibly, just wondering, maybe because when people find out about this, they say, where's our president in all this? Where's our president of the United States? Why isn't he doing diplomacy, going there and talking to other countries? Instead, you have other countries building it, skipping and bypassing the United States totally, when in fact you had Donald Trump in office. He was going to North Korea, he was going to China, all that stuff. I think he even went to Russia. Didn't he give him a volleyball, or what was it that he gave him? I don't know. But our president of the United States was busy talking it over with people, opening the lines of communication. All right, that all being said, I hope that you enjoy your weekend. And don't forget, About George with Gene Ho. We will see you next week.